Well, hello everyone, and welcome to vlog number 9. I think, right, 9?
Yes,
Yeah,
9.
9. And we're excited to be back and sharing a little bit more about where our journey has taken us, the First Congregational Church transition. And we're gonna, as Tim so aptly puts, talk about our, once and future building. So Tim, I'll let you explain sort of how that feels for you.
Well, I think we, like many traditional mainline churches, have been associated with a single building for a long time. Our building that we're in was rebuilt in 1937 after a fire on the same site where it had been. And so, apart from a few of our members who actually were kids and watched the building burn and then watched the new building be built, uh, virtually all of us associate First Congregational Church with the building that we have recently sold. Mm-hmm. And so that's our once building. We're still hoping to worship in it. We'll probably talk a little bit about that because we're renting the sanctuary and chapel portions from a group that we sold it to for 2 years. So we do have that space available, but we know it won't be our space of the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And as Tim had said, most folks, except for I think one person, who's still alive in our congregation, vaguely remembers the building previous to 1936, and the drastic change that occurred due to the fire. But that this congregation has been in 5 different buildings, and that we're entering into the search. We are in the search for our 6th building. And that this is something this congregation has gone through more than once, for different reasons. The catalyst for exiting one building and moving into the next is different, but it is something that as I talk about often, the ancestors of this congregation have done, and asking them to guide us in this process, knowing that we don't know what the next building will look like.
Yeah, that's back in somewhere in the winter, this past winter. We did a jazz sanctuary called Are We There Yet? The Jazz of Liminal Space. Liminal meaning between, neither here nor there. And talk just about the dynamic of liminality, of being betwixt and between. And while we were talking about the pandemic in that case, that's exactly where building-wise, we are as a congregation. We are in liminal space. We are neither fully inhabiting the space we've always been in, and we are not at all inhabiting the space we will yet be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, and having the as a congregation dancing between those 2 liminal spaces in this time. And just acknowledging the exhaustion that happens when you're, dancing through that much liminal space all at the same time.
I remember a New Testament teacher from many years ago in seminary, maybe even in college, talking about the dynamic in the New Testament of already, but not yet. That in the transformation that's occurred from the events of the life of Jesus and the crucifixion and the resurrection, things have already changed. Mm-hmm. And yet, the things that we await are not here yet.
Yeah.
So already but not yet space is another way of talking in sort of Christian terms about liminality.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. And even within that, wrestling with the our sense of human time, when most of us live no more than 100 some odd years, and the age of the entire universe, that 2,000 years of waiting for what's next, from God, is really not that long of a time. It feels like forever for us, but And certainly, as you've mentioned, hoping that it won't take 40 years like it did Moses and the Israelites moving through the wilderness, or, taking 2,000 years based on how long Christianity has been around at this point. So hopefully less than both of those in finding the new space. But with listening to what other congregations are, I've heard now, I think since the last time we did vlog number 8, there are 2 other churches I know of who have closed, have made the choice to have what I think many of us are calling a good death, because it's what makes the most sense for their congregations. And other congregations are doing other things to drastically change how they're functioning, where they're physically existing, what the ministry looks like moving forward. And talking about the fact that the church, the wider church, is going through the time of death within the cycle of resurrection, and that leaning on the fact that we are resurrection people, that knowing that this time of death will in fact create space for new life, but that doesn't make it necessarily any easier to be in the time of death within that cycle.
Yes. You a week ago Sunday, you preached on the fact that the church is not a building, and I thought that was really, excellent. Your usual excellent sense of timing to talk about that in our current situation, but it's very true. That said, I think the way we're wired as human beings, there's certainly a way in which the worship space that we gather in gets we invest in it emotionally. And so that makes times like these for churches and for our church challenging. And yet, what better time to remember that, in fact, the church is not a building. So that was I don't know if that's up on the website yet, but if people want to check that out, it's a great sermon.
Well, thank you, Tim.
Yeah,
and absolutely. And we're sort of being asked, our congregation, but other congregations who are wrestling with decisions like this, with, in fact, putting our emotional intention on ourselves as a congregation, without putting the building aside, whether you have a building or not. The invitation, I think, right now is, in fact, to put the emotional connection and intentionality on who we are as a congregation, as human beings. It has nothing to do with brick and mortar. And it's not something that I would say mainline Protestant Christians are used to doing, for many reasons, for centuries at this point. And being thrown into that space of, in fact, having to look at one another as the bricks and mortar of the congregation is drastically different. And again, it's another liminal space of, okay, so not this, but not that. How on earth do I, formulate this when we've never done it before? Leaving us in that very space of shifting sands, which is tough to walk on. You have to walk slower and be patient. Yeah.
Right. And develop new skills.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, we certainly would appreciate everyone's prayers. And if you're going through something like this, and you'd like to comment in the comments below about what this experience is like for you, we will pray for you. And we always like to get your comments. I especially like to, after we do something like this and somebody just has a different perspective or just appreciates, what we're saying or whatever, it's lovely to hear. I want to give a particular shout out to William Howard, who almost always says that he appreciates our videos and hopes there are more of them. And so, William, you are our number one commenter. So thank you for that. And anyone else who would like to make comments, we'd love to have you do so.
Absolutely. And if there's anything in particular that we've touched on in these 9 vlogs now that you'd like us to expand on or would like to know more about that we might do as an upcoming transition vlog, please let us know. We in the comments below. And as always, we invite you to subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss anything. And in order to make sure you don't miss anything, you can click on the little bell that's to the right or the left, one side of the subscription button. And that will, in fact, send you emails or give you other notifications when we've released a new video. Yeah. Yeah. And Tim, do you want to share with everybody what we're planning on talking about for our next vlog?
Yeah, this coming Sunday, the 13th, we are having our annual meeting. And I think for us, we're probably not unusual that during the pandemic, many churches have, by not being able to gather, not just for worship, but for other things in person, the wisdom of the wider congregation is perhaps not been able to be as present. And so we're hoping that we may now probably, if the weather is suitable to not bake us inside our church, we're hoping to perhaps have it indoors, which might mean more people can come than if we were going to have it on the steps. And so we're hoping to get enough people out to really get a sense of the congregation and its wisdom about our buildings that we're looking for, about how we do all this in this liminal space. And I expect we'll have something to share about all of that next time.
Yeah, absolutely. So we hope you'll tune in. Again, please don't forget to subscribe, and we look forward to seeing you and hearing from you in the comments in this video and in the next video. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.